Happy Monday, everybody. Today, I'm going to talk about a couple different things. This week, you're going to have 3 assignments because we only had one real assignment last week and then the other was a survey. I'm also going to throw in a little fun lab that you can do if you're a little bored this week. Before we get started on that, however, we're in a new part of my house that you guys haven't seen before, so let me take you on a little bit of a tour. We're in my kitchen. Now, my kitchen has a nice little built-in countertop that actually the vent pulls through here instead of a ceiling fan to kick it outside. It's kind of interesting. I've got nice little cabinets. There's my sink with some dishes in it. My walls are red, and as you can see on my wall over here, I have one of my favorite things. Spider-Man and Deadpool looking at each other. Okay. My oven is actually built into the wall right here. It's about 5 feet high. It's kind of weird. All right. Today, to start you out for the week, I want to talk about grades. Now, third quarter is pretty much ended. Okay? So I updated all the grades this morning, and only a few people are failing. I really need everybody to check their grades because I'm going to give you till the end of this week to update your grades with me if you need to. Now, I don't want you to redo any of the missing assignments that are on there. What I would like you to do is if you need to improve your grade, whether it's a B to an A or an F to a B, contact me in an email at spalmer@g.slschools.org and say, Mr. Palmer, this is the grade I currently have. I would like to make it higher. What would you like me to do? And I'm going to give you 2 assignments that you'll do and then email back to me. Well, most people will have 2. There's a couple people that they're really low. They'll have to do a few more than that, but that's okay. The second thing I want to talk about today is office hours. My office hours are going to be Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday from 2 to 3 p.m. Almost every single person that chimed in said that they wanted afternoon hours, and that puts it in a nice little time for me. Now for today's activity, you're going to need several ingredients. If you don't have these, it's okay. I'll give you an alternate activity you can do. The first is we're going to need just a little bit of all-purpose flour, about a cup. We're going to need some vegetable oil, lemon juice, food coloring, salt, water, and then if you want to add some scent, you could grab something like pure mint or vanilla, but that is not actually required. We're going to start with the flour. We need 1 cup. Now, this says 1 cup on the bottom. It's a little dirty. There we go. Now, I've always wanted to try this, so let's see. That worked nicely. All right, we're going to take that 1 cup of flour and we're going to put it in a mixing bowl. Doesn't have to be shiny metal. I'm just a big fan of shiny metal mixing bowls. Next, we're going to add some salt. For the salt, I'm just going to use regular Morton iodized salt. It doesn't have to be iodized. Now, we need, for this, 1/4 cup of salt. So, got it set out. We're going to try our little trick again. Boom! Alright, now we add that to our dry mixture in the bowl as well. Now, we're actually going to go over to the stove and we're going to mix some of our moist ingredients. Now when it comes to the pan you use, I would recommend using a non-stick pan. These are some very nice pans that me and my wife got. They're called Calphalon. They're probably the best non-stick I've ever used. Any pan will work, however, you just have to be careful not to burn it on. Now, ideally you might want to use a deeper pot like this instead of a pan like this, but I'm going to try it in this today just to see. Now we're going to start off, we're going to need a tablespoon of oil. You're going to take your tablespoon and just pour it right in the pan. Easy peasy. Next, we're going to add 2 tablespoons of lemon juice. I actually misspoke, it's 3 tablespoons of lemon juice. Now if you're lucky, you'll have a measuring cup for 3/4 of a cup. I do not. But I do have a 1/4 cup. So I'm going to add 3 of these of water. Now, it is important to note that I am not doing the best job of leveling off the top of my measurements or making sure my liquids were the right height as well in the measuring cups. Unfortunately, if this was a baking recipe, you would need to be much, much more accurate. That's why in the baking world, a lot of times they measure mass in grams, a lot like we've done in class before. That makes it come out much, much more precise. Baking is more akin to chemistry than almost any other type of cooking. Now that we've got that all added, we're going to turn it to medium heat, which is going to set it to right about 5. And you're going to start heating that up. Back over our dry ingredients, we're going to give them just a light mix. Now, if this was baking, again, we would want to make sure that we're doing a much better job making a homogenized mixture, or what that means is that it's evenly mixed so that every bit of salt and flour is the same. So if I take that scoop would have the same amount of salt and flour per volume as this scoop over here would. So we're going to take this over to our liquid that is heating up nicely on the stove. Now, we don't want it to boil, but when it gets hot, which I like to tell by holding my hand above the pan, or you can see steam rising off a lot of times. Once we get there, we're going to mix these ingredients slowly in with that. Now, a good plan if you're making multiple batches would be to add your food coloring in to the hot water right now while it's heating up and stir it in. You'll get better color consistency that way. I'm going to wait till after I make the dough because I'm going to split it into 3 balls so that I can have 3 different colors with just one batch. I am, however, going to add just a tiny few drops of my mint. It doesn't take a lot because this is pure mint extract. Don't overdo it, otherwise your dough will stink to high heaven. My water has reached hot but not boiling levels, so now we're going to start combining. Now as we do this, it's going to make a sticky, almost messy ball. That's okay. We just need to keep mixing it over this heat in order to make a dough. Now the heat is actually taking the glutens in the flour, the little proteins, and it's causing a chemical reaction with all the ingredients we've added. It's elongating those gluten proteins and changing their shape, denaturing them so that they have a different shape. Now, that shape, when we denature it, makes them combine or mix up like headphone cords when they get all stuck together. And that's what actually makes our dough have the consistency it does. Now, while it's heating up, you're going to want to just fold it over on itself, almost like you're kneading it like it's a bread dough. You want to get a pretty even consistency. I'm getting pretty close. You could use a spoon for this. There's lots of ways to do this. I prefer a little green spatula with a clear handle because I'm weird. All right. That looks pretty good. Now once your dough has pretty much formed, we're going to turn it out onto something to cool down. Now, normally wax paper would be the best idea. I am out of wax paper, so I'm going to use a cutting board, and then I'm going to transfer that onto a piece of plastic wrap. So I have plastic wrap right there, but first, it's still a little hot, be careful. I'm going to knead it just a little bit more. Hot. Whew, it is very warm. Okay, I'm going to let it cool down, split it into 3, add my colors. There's my ball. I'm going to let it cool a little bit longer. It has cooled nicely. I've turned it into a little loaf. Now I'm going to use a knife. You could use a butter knife or even just the edge of a plate or something to cut this if you wanted to be a little more safe. And I'm going to try to just cut it into 3 even pieces. Now I'm going to separate 2 of those. Start with just this one. And I'm going to make this blue. So I'm going to grab my blue food coloring, pop the top, and I'm going to add 2 or 3 drops on 3 sides. If it's not dark enough or the color you want once we need it, you can always add more, so always err on the side of caution. Now, for kneading, I would recommend wearing some gloves if you have access to them, so you don't get the dye on your hands. Now, if you don't have access to that, you can use this plastic wrap, fold it over top of the clay and massage it that way, or you could put the clay inside a plastic bag. Now, as we massage, you'll notice that we're losing food coloring out the bottom. You can just shove the dough into that and it'll help absorb some more. Now we're just gonna squeeze the dough, massage it. You could knead it if you're a baker and have experience with that. So, it's looking like I need a little more food coloring, though that is a really neat color. So I'm just gonna add a few more drops. Like so. Fold it over and continue working that color in. Alright, and after a few minutes of massaging, folding, squeezing, basically manipulating the dough, I've got a fairly uniform color. So, I'm going to do that. And like I said before, if you'd added this to the hot water before, we'd have had a much uniform color. I'm going to do this one green and leave this one this color. Okay, so now I have my 3 colors of dough. Now, you can do as many colors of dough as you want. You can do any size of batches using this recipe. Now, normal recipes I've seen for Play-Doh use cream of tartar instead of lemon juice, but cream of tartar is incredibly expensive. So, I wanted to try to do something a little different. Now, we're going to use this to create a molecule. Alright, so the molecule I made has an oxygen, that's my big green color here, and 2 small hydrogens. Hydrogens only have 1 proton, oxygen has much more, so it's much larger. So, what molecule did I make? Answer in the comments. Now I understand that not all of you have access to a full kitchen of supplies. Flour is really in short supply right now because of the COVID and people panic buying in the stores. So if you can't make the dough, that's okay. What I would like you to do instead, you can't make your little molecule, but you can instead draw a molecule. Now what I would like everybody to do, whether or not you are using the dough or drawing it and then taking a picture of it and showing me, is I want you to choose your favorite molecule and make it. Now for me, it normally would have been caffeine, as you can tell. That's my one real addiction, is caffeine. I've tried to kick it repeatedly. It's really rough. It's the reason I don't smoke or drink, because if caffeine is this hard, I don't know how I would get rid of anything else. So, I want you to make your favorite molecule and either send me a picture of your model that you made out of the clay or Play-Doh, or your drawing of it. Now, if you're going to do a drawing, what I would like you to do is I'd like you to pick a big, cool one. So you're doing the same kind of effort. I'd like you to give it shading, shadows, maybe a light source, or maybe a wizard holding the molecule in the air. I don't know. Do something extra to really make it pop for me. Alright guys, that's your Monday video. I hope to see you guys soon, and I hope you're staying safe. And I'll put another video up on Wednesday. Alright, bye.